Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect.
So thanks everyone for coming. First off, I just want to thank Christoph in the back here, the latecomer, because without Christoph, we would not have this office location down here in Miami right now.
Thank you.
Wow.
So thank you very much for helping facilitate that.
Good job.
And thank you for coming. Some of you have done a real estate transaction on the commercial side, some of you have not. And that's why Anna is here today to really talk to us about what we normally do in the residential side and being able to cross over into commercial and being comfortable making that change or doing both residential and commercial side by side. Anna is one of our commercial mentors. We're starting a mentor program, both on the residential and the commercial side. And Anna is going to talk a little bit about that at the end of her presentation. So Anna, thank you.
Okay. So obviously you guys know I could talk a lot. All right, so here we go. Everybody has a packet. Would you like one?
Yes, please.
Got it? Okay.
Yep.
You're welcome. Okay, so what is commercial real estate? By definition, it is a non-residential property used for commercial profit-making services. For example, everybody's familiar with multifamilies, shopping plazas, land, industrial, hospitality, office buildings, so on and so forth. Now you guys have had your fair share of experiences. Some of you yes, some of you not. There's a lot more to it than just this, but this is pretty much a broad description of what commercial real estate is. Anybody have any questions here? Or is it pretty straightforward?
All of them follows under the same contract. Is the same contract for all of these categories that you have here? So we plan the same contract.
You have a commercial contract, yes, that Form Simplicity from the Board of Realtors offers, and it is for the most part all the same exact commercial purchase contract. However, if there are any changes or anything that needs to be added onto the contract, you add addendums or clauses depending on the property and the individual who's purchasing it.
Okay,
it's the same contract.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same contract. And if you guys need any links throughout my presentation, please write down what it is that you guys need so I can go ahead and send it to your emails and you guys can have an idea of what it is that she's talking about. Some of you already know, as you guys have said, you guys have already sold or leased.
One thing, the format is gonna be in the gate company. It is gonna be over.
Yes, if you have Form Simplicity,
yes,
okay, which is tied into the matrix and all that wonderful stuff, then it will automatically have the K Company's logo on there. Okay, and if you guys need my help, I'll walk you through it. I'll get on a call with you and help you guys out. I had no idea how to do it, so I was in your shoes at one point, and I'm more than willing to help.
Now, before we move on, would you recommend normally to make your offer on the property on the commercial sales contract or utilizing the letter of intent?
I like to use the letter of intent because it's a non-binding agreement. A letter of intent is pretty much a lot of times what investors use because they know it's a non-binding agreement. If you give a commercial contract and they sign it and you give a price, that is a binding agreement if the seller signs it, you know, and they're kind of bound to that price. If they pass due diligence, they're bound to that price. During their due diligence, meaning that's the time where they do their homework, their inspections, their environmentals, all that wonderful stuff that they do, considering the contract, considering the contract, then yes, they have to be bound to that price. If not, they can lower the price, change it, whatever it is that they want to do. However, yes, a letter of intent is preferred.
So for reference, there's a letter of intent for lease and a letter of intent for purchase and a non-disclosure agreement, all available on Paperless Pipeline under the reference tab, commercial forms. They're all branded, available in Word document format for you to change. Not the non-disclosure, but the other two, yes.
Yes, non-disclosure agreements are right.
So they are in the gate company.
Correct. If you log into your Sphere, click on Documents and Transactions, go to the Reference tab, there's a commercial section. There's two letter of intents, lease and purchase. And there's also a non-disclosure agreement.
Okay.
The letter of intent are Word documents, the two of them are Word documents for you to type and modify.
Yeah, basically a letter of intent, you're going to see the name of the company or the entity that is purchasing the asset. You're going to see the excuse me, you're going to see the purchase price. They're going to have some of their terms, because if they have an attorney, most of the time they already have a letter of intent done, or you as an agent, you create it for them. For the most part, I created all of mine, and some of my investors already have theirs. And they'll have a disclosure. It'll say it's a non-binding agreement. This is the purchase price. These are the terms. And should the seller say, yes, I accept this, or counter offer, then once that we receive that, then we put it on a commercial contract if all parties agree to the terms, counter, or price that was negotiated. And then you move forward. Is there any questions with the letter of intent? It's usually LOI is what you would hear, letter of intent. Okay. So on and off market. This is a did I go back? I want to make sure that I didn't skip one here.
You just use left or right.
Okay. Just want to make sure I was right. Okay. So on and off market, this is a big ordeal in today's market. Like everything, everybody has a trend, and everything has a trend, right? So in my experience, I have only done off market deals. The difference between on and off market is on market, you list it, you advertise it where everybody can see, everybody knows who the seller is, and off market, you're not to do that. You can market it without any information pertaining to the address or the seller, just so you can generate the interest, but it is not on LoopNet, it is not on CoStar, it is not on the MLS, it is not on any search engine with the address or the purchase price or any of that. You kind of just do like a short teaser, and a teaser is basically just some good points pertaining to a property that would generate the interest from the investor. And you can put that on Instagram or on Facebook or anywhere you would like, where you can generate the interest. And then once that you have an investor that wants to go ahead and move forward because they like the information that you put out there, again, not disclosing the address or anything, just some bullet points where you would think would make the investor interested. So once you do that, excuse me, I need to have a little more coffee. So once you do that, that's the difference between on market and off market. On, you have the capability to do whatever it is that you like as far as advertising with the address, so on and so forth. And off market, you are not allowed to do that. And where I was getting at was, if you have an investor that wants the property because of the bullet points that you put out there, then that's where the non-disclosure, non-circumventive agreement comes in, which is what he said is available on the K Company document.
I have a question. Why did you decide to go off market?
And I'm gonna get there. So off market for me is obviously a little more challenging because there's a lot more obstacles. I like off market because every investor wants off market. If I tell an investor, hey, I have a multifamily, their first question, every single one of them is it on or off market? And they want off market because, number one, you get to negotiate the numbers a little better. They're not set in stone. The seller can tell one person 12 million and the other person 15 million, and he can't get in trouble for it because it's not set in stone as far as the MLS, CoStar, or LoopNet. Also, about 28% of deals are done off market because it is definitely lucrative, and you don't have a listing agreement, an exclusive listing agreement. You can, and I have done it. You can have an exclusive listing agreement and opt out to market the property, which will protect your commission. However, off market usually doesn't work like that. Off market is, this is my property, you're the real estate agent, I have 5 or 6 other agents working on this, and here's a commission agreement. If you bring me a buyer, I guarantee to pay you X amount for this property. That is off market. And again, it is lucrative. And there is a lot more time and dedication, I feel, that goes into it because you're competing with other agents for the most part. As far as on the market, you're not competing with other agents because you're the listing agent, you know? And again, both of them are great. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm saying that what the market is dictating is that every investor wants off market as opposed to the on market. And a lot of times the sellers do it for one sole purpose. It's because they don't want anybody to know that their entity is selling this, or they don't want their information out there, you know, which is one of the problems that I was encountering. And until one seller told me, listen, it's not Not that I don't want to give you the listing, it's that I don't want this information out there. And then I said, well, we can opt it out, and then that's how I got the listing. You know, there's ways around it, but again, and if you're dealing with these sellers that have portfolios of multi-families, 60, 70, 80 million, they don't want nothing. They're not going to give a listing to anyone. So investors definitely want off market more than they do on market, and that is just from my experience and statistically what is going on in today's market. Any questions from here?
So what do you do if, say, you have a 8-unit, 16-unit place? You're just going to put, 822s or however?
As far as like the teaser is what you're asking me? Okay, so if you have, let's just call it an 8-unit multifamily. So you could say, and it's located here in the design district, right? You could say 8-unit multifamily in a highly desired area. The net income, you can always put the net income because you're not giving a property address, right? The net income is this, and the cap rate is this, meaning that is the percentage that you're getting on your on your investment every single year, right? So that's it. That's all you do. And you don't have to put a picture because realtors are funny, and they are going to take a picture and they're going to put it on Google Images, and they're going to look at the property, and they can go behind your back and they can try and sell the property, and they will market the property, and they will do what they can to try and get their hands on an off-market deal, which is why it's competitive. And for the most part, I would push and tell you guys to try and get the listing, opt out where you can advertise it so you're protected. And if not, the second best thing would be a commission agreement. But then at that point, you're competing with other agents. So a teaser just goes just like that. And I'll pull up a teaser for you guys after, kind of like basically what I did to send to an investor. Very simple. These investors don't care for anything fancy. They kind of just want to know what's the net, what's the cap, more or less where's the location, how many units, square footage, and that's it. And then please remind me when we're done here with the class so I can pull up something for you, so I can continue going on with the PowerPoint. Any other questions before I continue?
How are you finding the buyers if you're off market and you're limited how you promote it?
So it depends. Because of which is why I gave you guys my background, because of where I came from and what I've done, I have established my contacts. For example, the contacts from the synagogue were very good contacts to have. However, very difficult to maintain and to get. And once that I left that industry, I continue to maintain my relationships with these individuals. Now, if you want to get more buyers, there's definitely ways to get them without having these contacts. How? If you guys, for commercial, I'm not talking residential. For commercial, you have CoStar, right? Is anybody familiar with CoStar? Yeah? Okay.
Morning.
Hi, good morning. So CoStar is a search engine. CoStar bought out LoopNet, and now they are one company. And CoStar is a search engine, kind of like the MLS, but for commercial agents, right? That's pretty much how I can simplify it for you guys. It is a lot more tricky to use, but definitely effective. So for your question, if you don't have that circle of influence that you've generated on your own, then your plan B would be, okay, what am I going to do to get buyers and or sellers? CoStar, I have gone to CoStar training myself in this area, and I have already developed my relationship with these individuals, and they have taught me how to get buyers and sellers on CoStar, in which I can go ahead and teach you guys as well. But you guys definitely would have to get an account, and that's something that Jonathan and I will speak about at some point. If you guys are very serious about getting into commercial and understanding that these are the tools that you need, then that's something that maybe we can supply, and because I already have an account, I can add other people to it, and it may be cheaper. But that's definitely a way for your question to be answered is if you don't have that circle of influence, there's other options. I would assume, and I don't want to assume, but I would think that you guys definitely everybody has a circle of influence, whether it's personal or not personal, and it's just a matter of how you use it and to work in your benefit. Any other questions?
do not forget about you mentioned the co-star, the trainer. That would be very important if you at the end give us that and how to get into the account of co-star. It's different co-star than LoopNet.
Yes, it's different, but CoStar bought out LoopNet, so everything that's on CoStar is on LoopNet as well. And I have access to both. It's two different accounts is what I'm saying. However, I don't pay for LoopNet because I pay for CoStar, and CoStar bought out LoopNet. So I don't need to pay for LoopNet. I don't use LoopNet because CoStar is better than LoopNet in my personal opinion, which is why they bought them out. You know?
Okay. Would you explain later on?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is once that this presentation is over, I need to speak with Jonathan. He is a broker, and I need to come up with a plan and some type of structure where we can make this happen for you guys, if you guys are really wanting to pursue commercial. Okay, so any other questions before I move forward?
I'm sure there will be many more.
Okay. I'm asking the questions as I go, because at the end, a lot of times people forget the questions that they want to ask, you know? So commercial versus residential. Can anybody tell me like what they think commercial versus residential would be?
Disclosures, one of them.
I'm sorry?
You mean different
Yes.
disclosures,
Right?
one of them.
Okay. Well, here we have where we're going to look at commercial and residential. And on the commercial side, there's so much more, but these are just some, okay? You have commercial real estate careers require attention to statistics and profitability, which is the truth, as opposed to residential agents where you're not looking at what the asset is making because it's not making anything. You know, it's not an income-producing property. And you're kind of working with individuals that are, you know, they have their daily schedules, and you're working around them and what their emotional side of them wants, per se, you know, as opposed to, again, the statistics and the profitability. The return on investment. Does anybody know what return on investment is?
How much money you make back
That's
compared to what you put into it.
Correct. Correct. That is the cap rate, the ROI. Now, here you also have a larger market. I believe they're both great markets. You have a lot more residential agents than you do commercial agents. And that's kind of what I wanted to get across. Not that one is bigger than the other. There's a lot more inventory in residential, I would say, as opposed to commercial. But then again, it's kind of how you look at it, on or off market. There's a lot less off market than there is on market, okay? Excuse me. You're looking at income expenses, location, age of buildings, ROI, permits, what it can be making. So the pro forma is what it can make in the future. Does anybody, the commercial agents or anybody here that has done commercial, have you done a pro forma before in your sale? Did you do a pro forma? And when you did the commercial sale, it was a warehouse, or you didn't have to do a pro forma?
LOI, the contract.
Okay, so a pro forma basically, with the multifamily that I sold, one of them, so you have the actual rent roll, right? And to get a buyer to pay more money, right, for the seller to be happy, you kind of want to create a pro forma of what the asset can make, considering what you put into a property as a buyer, you know? And there's so much more that goes into it other than that, but I'm just kind of giving you a general idea. A lot goes into pro forma. A lot of numbers, underwriting a deal. And when I say underwriting, I mean taking all the numbers possible that you can as far as carrying costs, you know, construction costs, so on and so forth. So that can be tricky, but not difficult as long as you make it happen. Obviously, residential is way more emotional. I've definitely said that over 5 times. This is a numbers game, and it primarily focuses on the different types of inventory as opposed to a residential where you have the same thing, just how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what's the square footage, you know, is it on the water, is it not, the lot size, same thing. It's just the same thing. Commercial, there's so many different aspects of it, you know, and residential, you have high end, you have middle class, you have low end, you know, however it is that you want to look at it, but they primarily are completely different. And like she said, what was her name? Adriana. Like Adriana says, there are different contracts than the residential side, and we're getting a whole bunch of them together for you guys. So the 3 that you have there, there will probably be some more added onto there as we continue. Is there any questions here in this? No? Okay. How to transition from residential to commercial. Okay. Obviously, everybody needs to educate themselves, you know? You guys are not in school where you have to be there from one time to another. It's a matter of what you're willing to do to move forward in the market that you want to move forward in, you know? And this is really important. What is it that you guys like, you know? And if you don't know what you guys like, the market will tell you what you like, okay? Which is what has happened to me. I thought, I don't know what I like. I basically didn't know. It kind of just happened. I fell into the multifamily world, which is very, very popular right now, along with a few other pieces of commercial real estate, like a shopping center, hospitality, which I'm working on at the current moment, and a few other things, you know? But you kind of want to pick one and kind of dominate that in the sense that how are you going to educate yourself to dominate that market? For example, multifamilies. What are you going to do to educate yourself? Watch YouTube channels, whatever it is that you can to make sure that you really dominate it, you know?
This is something that's really similar to residential.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do a little exercise?
Yeah, sure.
All right, this is going to be fun, I promise. Maria,
Yeah.
when you first got into the business, you were figuring, I'm going to do residential real estate, right?
Yeah.
You had a focus on, I'm either going to farm this area or that area, and I'm going to know everything about it.
Right.
What did you start off with?
Well, checking on schools, checking on the, everything to pertain to that area, the shopping, whatever was in the area, and then start farming it.
So what do you currently focus on? Sorry, I'm singling you out. What do you focus on right now? Derek, you're next.
Meaning,
In residential real estate, what do you focus on? If you said, I'm going after this, where are you going after?
Okay, I go after price, the price of the homes that I focus on are between 3 and up.
Okay, so 300,000 and up where?
In Pembroke Pines.
Pembroke Pines.
Yeah.
So residential real estate, 300,000 up in Pembroke Pines.
Right.
Now, if you said, I'm going to do commercial from today on, what would be your focus?
I will start with multifamily.
Multifamilies, perfect, in Pembroke Pines.
Yes.
Perfect. So that is essentially the same mentality that you have to have going from residential to commercial. I'm going to learn everything that's possible to learn about this. Just like you did, you were very familiar with your market of 300,000 and up in Pembroke Pines.
Right.
It's the same thing in commercial. Dirk, what do you focus on right now?
Right now, I focus a lot on investment opportunities for residential investors looking at fixer-upper flips or people that are buying for primary use, but everybody wants everything new, everything's perfect.
Right.
Most of the time, you can never find a perfect property for
It doesn't
one person.
exist.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Everybody wants to change at least one thing about the house.
So if you switched over to commercial, what would your focus be?
Well, so I thought about a lot of that because I like putting a lot of work into the design side of helping people with the flips and the remodels, even when we're just looking at it, seeing through existing walls and saying we can knock that out, we can open this view and change the configuration. And in the commercial side of things, I see a lot of opportunity to build out, take a blank canvas, an empty space, and whether it's new construction or I've dabbled in commercial, but I've never closed a deal. So I've gone into spaces that are vacant properties and taken clients in. We're looking to open up an office space, et cetera.
I don't know about you, but everything he's saying tells me condo conversions.
Yeah. Yeah, or
Really?
development or redevelopment or development, coming into a piece of land and just kind of like making it happen, But if you're already dealing with stuff that are already done, then yeah, I think you're 100% correct. Condo conversion, yeah.
Alice, what do you focus on residential?
My intermediate circle in schools.
Very well said. Now, if you went into commercial, what would you be doing? What would your focus be? I'm going to dominate this.
I had to figure out the ROI, and I have several friends who wanted me to help them, and I don't understand how it works.
So commercial investments with your circle influence.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Most likely shopping plazas or multifamily buildings.
Warehouses, actually.
Warehouses.
I right now have warehouse. I have friends who need warehouse and friends who need clinics.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Fred, what's your focus on residential? You guys notice the trend, right? Prepare your answers.
Yeah. Right now, I just have been going around and trying to get for sale by owners to convert them to listings.
Prospecting for listings.
Prospecting for them. And I tried a commercial, I got one deal under, but I learned something about looking up the liens and everything, which is a nightmare now.
So for those of you who don't know Fred, Fred is a ferry follower. He knocks on doors, makes phone calls, he hits the pavement. So crossing over to commercial would still work very well for you.
Right.
Think about it. Instead of going door to door where people have this blockade up, you're going business to business.
Right.
That's a whole different aspect, but could really apply well for you and could be much more lucrative. Martha, what do you focus on residential?
Residential, a little bit slightly different area, Brickell, I'm focusing on certain development. I sell very well one house, and people get to know me. I have my signs a certain way, a certain atmosphere about that. I have a community time, so I concentrate in the houses around. And that's what I'm doing. Right now, I started a little bit commercial, so same thing. Raw land, I'm concentrating in land, and I'm concentrating in buildings that are sitting in, let's say, a building that is sitting in a certain amount of units, but it has the potential to go higher and more. That's what I'm doing.
Nice. So I didn't skip Claudette on purpose. Introduce Claudette Espendes. She's a closer and post-closer from our in-house title company, Florida Title. Bilingual as well, in case you have any Spanish-speaking customers. But Claudette's here mainly as this is our new office location to meet in Miami. So if you have a closing and you're down here, it's going to close right here with Claudette. Okay. What do you focus on residentially?
I guess I'll go with sphere influence.
Okay.
And, yeah, that was,
And commercial, I understand you're crossing over to multifamily. Did you get that listing slide? No?
yeah, actually, her husband went in the hospital. We sent him in the hospital.
Oh, no.
I
Yeah, you gotta respect that. Yeah.
She has an off-market commercial listing coming on.
Good job. Awesome.
Where? Miami Beach.
Ooh, I'm interested.
Yes, 18 years.
Oh, yeah. I need to go to you.
For you guys, 12 million.
I have a buyer.
Dorothy, what do you focus on residentially right now?
Well, as you know, my core business is investment real estate, first of all, for myself. I own a portfolio of properties, and the clients that I work with are kind of like on the same, they buy, packages and properties for investment purposes. And I'm interested, focusing more on the commercial side because I want to buy multifamily for myself. So that's what I want to push for myself and for my investors to buy.
Excellent. Christoph?
For me, I'm focused more on the construction side for new houses for Section 8. I'm a property management company here. And now, international buyer would like the visa. And usually we have some lawyer here, immigration lawyer, and we focus on the restaurant, the internet. But my big concern, I don't have a farmer. I need to work for Tampa, Naples.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason that sounded very established and eloquent. Adriana, what do you primarily focus on?
We're focused on my circle of influence on single-family homes in North Broward County.
Right.
Like suburban areas for mom and dad and family that want a nice 350 and above single-family home. But I want to be ready for the opportunities that come along with the commercial area. And so once I'm ready, I'll probably jump in on multifamily homes.
Okay, good.
Joseph, excuse me. What do you focus on primarily?
I guess the same thing as everybody's saying, sphere of influence, buyers, making people happy, finding property.
Right.
That's what I do.
Right.
And if you went commercial, what would you focus on?
I don't know, I guess multi-family.
No, don't say I guess. What do you want? What do you want?
Multi-family. I mean, I have a friend who he buys warehouses, sell warehouses in Alapata.
That's big right now. That's a
Yeah,
great
so-
area right now. And the pattern is
Yeah.
very much coming. A lot of people want that area right now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna-
Where is that area?
That wasn't that.
It's an Indian real estate,
West,
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's west.
The Alabama Drive?
west of the,
Yeah, that was airport. It was kind of an area.
the
Yeah, not great. but
south
it's
of
getting better.
A36.
Okay.
That area. South
So,
of
like,
City
there's a
and
west-
west of the
Hialeah?
stadium.
Yes.
Southwest of Hialeah?
Stadium,
Yes.
around there.
Okay.
Marco?
Well, basically, as I'm in the position of starting on the business, I'm knowing the residential piece, and now I would like to know the commercial piece in order to decide which one
You would want to go.
my world.
Right.
So, answering the question, I don't have a clue.
Okay. Hey, honesty is the best policy.
He's trying to find his spot.
Honesty is the best policy.
Last but not least.
Well, I've been focusing on residential now, but been working with developers who are looking for lots and lands to develop and make single families or townhouses, so I want to learn more to negotiate better for them.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And,
It gives you kind of an idea of where everybody's
Yeah.
coming from, where they've
Yeah.
been through, and where they would like to go.
yeah, and also, I kind of want to just show you guys something, off topic here, but to go with your developers. So my grandfather prepares the land for developers, so I know a lot about land, and there's a lot more to learn. And if you guys ever have any type of, off-market, they don't care for on-market land, please let me know. I have, developers that would take it in 2 seconds, and vice versa. I have land at developers.
Good morning, everyone. This is how she finds survivors, actually, by doing classes and coaching other people.
Just letting you guys know.
You are an agent of
Yes.
Yes. And right now you're handling more I'm sorry, I came late, so.
No, it's okay. I've just been strictly doing commercial, and been focusing on that. And again, everything is a learning experience, and you continue to learn. And whatever it is that everybody here may need with help, if I can provide it, I will provide it. And if I can, I will find a way to provide it for you. Okay? So let's go back to this. So thank you for that. That was fun. You want to ask him?
What do you primarily focus on right now in business?
In business, customer service.
Customer service, okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you had to jump and change from today and focus solely on selling commercial properties, what type of properties would you try and go after?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Wherever the money takes them.
Right. Okay. Yes.
So the purpose of that exercise was recognizing whether you're in residential or you're commercial, the mindset still has to be the same. Educate yourself to be completely knowledgeable on everything having to do with what you want to focus on, and jump and go. It's the same exact idea.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Would you say that maybe the first step for transition to commercial might be easier, multi-units, like,
I don't think anything is easier than, one thing is easier than the other. It's a matter of how you apply yourself to it, because they're all difficult in their own way.
You were saying before, you're supposed to know how much that property makes in 1 or 2 or 3 years to talk to the buyers or the sellers. That might be the easier way to figure out the worth, the return of investment into work that into the transaction, opposed to maybe a store or different kind of business that you don't know.
Well, I'll tell you this, with the exception of land, okay, that's raw, you have almost all income producing properties. Unless you have a property that's vacant. But for the most part, you have income-producing properties. So whether it's a multifamily shopping center, a hotel, a redevelopment, a restaurant, anything, they all have a rate of return, a return on investment, and a net and a gross. Because if you have an income-producing property, you have to have that. So it doesn't really matter whether it's a multifamily or a hotel or any of those things I just mentioned. They all still have to go through the same process. So I don't think one is easier than the other. It's a matter of just applying yourself, and they all kind of have the same steps with different, not the same steps, but the same outcome. The income, the expenses, the gross, and the net, all the same. Every income producing property has that. So a multifamily wouldn't just be the easiest one, because a shopping center is the same thing with different aspects. They all make money, and they all spend money, and they all have a gross and a net.
The easiest is definitely leasing of office space. That is definitely the easiest thing to do first.
But I mean, maybe less complex.
Well, it's very, very simple. If you find a space, you negotiate the deal. Is there improvements or non-improvements? Sign on the dotted line.
Yeah.
Whereas multifamily, you're talking real nuts and bolts calculations, figuring out what the numbers are going to be accurately. When you're doing redevelopment, there's a lot of feasibility studies, environmental studies. There's a lot of roadblocks along the way, where office space or retail space leasing is very set in stone. There's a certain process that the manager is going to use, a certain lease that's already drawn up. It's a matter of showing the space, finding the one they want, negotiating the deal, and they sign and move.
Right. Okay, so, obviously, again,
It's still lucrative. It's not like, sorry.
No.
It's not like a residential rental. You know, it's not a month or a half month. It is taken as an entire sale. Let's say the office space is $2,000 a month. They sign usually a multi-year lease. So let's say it's a 3-year lease, $2,000 a month for 36 months. You're talking $72,000. Congratulations, you just sold a $72,000 condo.
Right.
Because the commission's paid on the full amount.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so, like he was saying, again, in both, residential and or commercial, you need professionalism, you know? You don't want to show up to meetings being unprofessional or late or not prepared. This is things that you guys know, I don't have to tell you. Financial stability is a big thing for both residential and commercial. You know, in this industry, if you don't already know, I'm going to tell you, you need to have some type of financial stability when you're coming into this industry. I kind of just took a leap of faith, and I did not make not $1 for a whole entire year. And then I got the commercial deal, and still I didn't make anything 7 months later, so really a year and 7 months. And I had to have some type of reserves put aside, and if you don't have some type of reserves put aside, well then it's going to be very difficult, you know, because you need some type of something. And we've all gone through those hardships, you know. I'm not going to sit here or stand here and tell you that I haven't been there, because I have, you know, but it's a matter of kind of just pushing through it and really wanting whatever it is that your heart desires, you know, hopefully commercial. And how bad do you want it, and what are you willing to do? I literally, for that deal, and I'm sure she knows, she worked on the deal for 7 months, you know, that like this off-market deal was very challenging. There was a lot of obstacles that were put in my way, but I don't think that there's anything that you can't do if you really want it bad enough. And it's the commission. A lot of times the commission on these commercial real estate properties are very, very rewarding, but it takes a lot of time and effort and pushing through those challenges that you're gonna get, you know, like you get in residential as well. I'm sure you guys get challenges with the banks and the approvals and whatnot. You know, I don't know, I don't care, because that's not my forte. But what I do know is that you have to be wanting it enough to push through those. That you're capable of figuring it out. You know, there were so many times where I was just like, oh my goodness gracious, I'm gonna lose my mind. You know, but there's attorneys, there's your broker, I'm here. You know, we're all here to help. Whatever it is that you may need help with.
The commission is different than residential, right?
Yes.
How do you figure how much is 4, 3, 5? How
Okay, so for commercial, you can go from 1 to 10 or more, depending on the seller and or the buyer. When you're dealing with off-market deals, for the most part, sometimes the seller pay commission, and that commission, they have a number. A lot of times when you're dealing with 10, 15, $20 million properties, you're not going to get more than 2 or 3%. 3% is pushing it, you know? And that's just from my experience. And I'm dealing with some big properties, and nobody wants to pay no more than 2%. You know, they don't want to give their money away. So sometimes they ask you to put it on the buyer side, right? So if they tell you, I'm not paying commission, but bring me a buyer, you have to add it on top of the price so the buyer pays the commission, you know? And that can be a little tricky, because the buyer may not want to pay commission, because normally the seller pays the commission. So this happens a lot in commercial real estate. It's about how good are your negotiation skills to make it happen, you know? But the reality is that yes, it's different. Residential is a set 3% to each side. Again, depending, sometimes there's agents that get more, and depending on the seller. In the same case here. Every case is different.
It's different, but more or less you say like around 2%. You mean 2% for your side and 2% for the other
2% total. Total, 2% total. But then again, you're dealing, let's just call you have a $10.7 million property, and you get 2% commission. You're making, you know, a decent amount of money.
$2 million.
And you million.
And if you work with the international buyer, it's okay for the
international buyers are very
Europe,
different.
The buyer pays.
100%. I'm dealing with 2 international buyers now, and they don't mind paying a commission because they want to move their money, and they need to move their money if they're trying to get a visa, and they'll do whatever they the person, the realtor, hopefully knows what they're doing, tells them to do, you know? So yes, it really depends on the buyer and or the seller. But for the most part, the seller should pay a commission. You know, you are selling their property. Okay. How to separate yourself in commercial real estate. Same thing as residential per se, as far as the work ethic. Okay. For myself, my experience, the fastest way for me was to be working 100% of my time, Monday through Sunday, from 7 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, 12, 1, 2, 3, it doesn't matter. You know, you kind of have to be determined and persistent, I think is the best word here, in order to get what it is that you want in life in general. I would say, whether that be residential, commercial, a business, whatever it is that you guys want, you know, and always try and really know what you're talking about and kind of just be really good at what it is that you do. And sometimes when you don't know what you're talking about, make pretend like you know what you're talking about, and then go find out what it is, you know, that they were saying, and educate yourself. Sometimes you don't have to tell people when you're in a meeting with a seller or a buyer that you don't know anything. Sometimes just stay quiet, because sometimes when you're just quiet and you listen, you kind of just understand what they're saying and you learn as you go. You know, you're not going to know everything. Nobody's perfect. God is, nobody else, you know, and strong work ethic is number one, always the best way to success. And I'm a workaholic. That's just how I am. I've been like that my whole life. And a lot of times people around me that love me and care for me are like, hello, what are you doing? It's a Sunday. And then I really don't care, you know, because the reality is how bad do you want the success, and where do you want to be in your life in a certain period of time, you know? For me, it may be something different than for you guys. But then again, it's what you put in is what you get out. And the same thing goes for residential. What you put in is what you get out. 100%. That goes for everything in life. And strong and disciplined work ethic equals results. Had I not been working till 2 or 3 in the morning, had you guys not been working so super late trying to get the warehouse sold, the multifamily, the lease done, you would have not gotten the results that you guys got, you know? So, and that goes, again, for everything. Okay, your skills. Completing one sale or purchase agreement can take months or years of effort. That is 100% correct. It took her 7 months. It took me 7 months. I've been working on one now for 6 months. The commercial deals tend to take a little longer, you know, a lot longer, actually. Again, unless you have like a lease, like you said, that's simple, fast, and short, simple, straight to the point. Let's see. An agent needs excellent communication skills. Meditation, I put meditation in there because I definitely need to meditate sometimes, you know, and I think that goes for any business. When you're dealing with clients or customers, whether it be sellers or buyers or seniors, whatever the case may be, you have to kind of just take a step back sometimes, just like breathe, you know, and know that you're doing everything to get to where you want to be.
It's mediation, not meditation.
Mediation is okay, well, meditation too. I know I meant to put meditation in there. My dyslexic is coming, hitting me right now. Okay, I had 3 cups of coffee. This is my 3rd one now. Excuse me. Okay.
You're not meditating.
Yeah, no, but I do. I'm not kidding. I do. I honestly take 5 or 10 minutes before I go into any meeting, during my meeting, and after my meeting to kind of just take a step back. And I can do a lot of talking, as you guys can tell. So sometimes I have to just take a step back. But yes.
Okay, it says mediation on that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm meditating, but I want to put meditation in there.
Sometimes you need to meditate before you
meditate.
Yeah.
I feel it's both very relevant.
Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. I'm going to fix that. Okay, understand.
I wasn't sure which one you meant.
Both. Honestly, both. They do make sense, both of them. So good. Hey, look, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay, and understanding the tax laws. That's something that's really big for buyers. And for sellers too, honestly, because they become 1031 for the most part if they understand the tax laws and they want to save money on their taxes and not pay it. And that's something that you would have to read up on, because Trump, after Obama, has changed a few things for the better, I think.
Can we talk about that?
But we're not talking about politics.
But as far as zoning, tax laws, that sort of thing, you know, where are are we supposed to be experts, and where do we defer?
Well, you're not an expert because we're not tax attorneys or anything like that. However, you kind of just want to familiarize yourself. So what I do is I go on the internet and put 2018 tax laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll start reading up on the changes on tax laws. And you kind of sometimes just want to familiarize yourself because
Sure.
as a seller, right, you have a $10.7 million property that you're going to sell, and now you're going to pay the capital gains on that money, right? So a lot of times no seller wants to do that, and they want to just reinvest their money as a 1031 exchange and eliminate that. You know, so you kind of just have to be familiar with those tax laws and amongst other tax laws that I'm not going to go into because, well, I'll sit here with you for 3 hours, you know. However, that's what I do to familiarize myself. And then on the buyer's side, they're gonna pay higher taxes once they purchase a property at a higher number than it was purchased at from the original seller, you know. And then you have to take that into consideration as well.
On the zoning side of that, though, let's say I've got a buyer looking to build a multifamily residential, or a hotel or something like that, and I see a parcel of vacant abandoned properties or some land, and I want to. Is it my job to go to the city, the county, the various zoning?
It's not your job, but it would make you stand out more, you know. So,
Yes.
for example, in the Hialeah deal that I worked, it was 70-something units, and on the tax roll it said 50-something, 52, I think. So where the hell are all these additional units coming from, and why are they not reflecting on the property search, right? So remember that this was an 89-year-old man that I'm not going to make him go to the city or do any of that. So, and his daughter is busy with whatever it is that she's doing. So I went ahead and I went to the city myself a whole bunch of times, and I became friends with everybody there, right? And I found out what the problem was, and it was because it was built in such I think it was 1960, and they had. It was different, like it wasn't reflected on property search, the numbers that were supposed to be on there. And then I had to go and apply or register myself so I can see. I forgot the name. There's an exact name for it right now, and I can't remember. But you have to wait like 3 weeks to get the actual documentation showing that it was 70-something units back in 1965. So the buyer can be comfortable enough with saying, hey, I'm going to make this offer, but it's contingent upon you telling me if this is done properly or not. So yes, with zoning or permitting or whatever the case may be, it would make you stand out more if you go an extra mile and go to the city or stuff and do it,
Is there a disclosure or something that you add, or a contingency that you would add into the contract that, for due diligence that says we want to confirm?
No, in the due diligence,
build
you
what we
have,
wanna
let's
build.
just call it 30-day due diligence is standard. Okay, you have 30 days for you, if you're representing the buyer or the seller, for you to go and do for the most part, the buyer. The buyer is the one doing the due diligence, okay? You have to go and you have that 30 days to figure everything out on the property. The rent roll, the income and expenses, the taxes, make sure that it reflects the rent roll, go to the city. If there's any issues. If there's no issues and the seller is straightforward, which is not the case most of the time, and they give you the exact information pertaining to the property, then no. If not, there's open permits and liens and stuff, you have to go to the city, and you have to try and figure it out. Why is it open? Why is it not? What's going on here? And then, obviously, if you have to involve the seller, you do, But for the most part, if you're not dealing with an 89-year-old man, then you don't really have to do that much often. But again, it's about how you want to separate yourself from everybody else, And then for that client to say, this person went the extra mile for me. They went to the city. They did this. They did that. I'm going to call them again for my next, sale or purchase.
And I think that, I don't know, I work here in Miami, but for the people who, the city is, even as a seller, if you're representing the seller, you, as an agent, it's very important sometimes to give the other agents everything done. So you save in due diligence. If they are going to say, okay, 2-3 months because I need to go to it, here it is.
Right.
You need this permit, you need this thing, here it is. So when you display all of this, you say if you can get your money
faster. Yeah. I mean, but let's be realistic. We live in Miami. Nobody does that. Not everybody's straightforward like they should be. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is, And a lot of times we have everything, and then come due diligence, they have nothing. you know, so you kind of, it really depends on the individual and their professionalism and their work ethic, you know?
No, what I'm saying is the property is by itself. That interested.
No, I understand
So
what you're saying.
that person, it should be doing
Everything.
better. Not everything, but if you want the faster, because the buyer is gonna come with this and with that, if you have it up front, that would be great. What you say,
Right.
Going to the city, going to the zoning, going to the.
Well, the
presentation
seller's
board.
representative should have all that information, is what you're saying. However, sometimes that's not. The seller either doesn't have it, or they lie to the agent, or the agent doesn't know any better. There's so many factors that go into it. It's not one or the other. It could be both, or it can be one or the other. It just really depends on the individual who's selling the property and the individual who's representing the seller.
Another thing here in Miami, the presentation board. One thing is what you think about the property, do you gonna keep it this way? Another thing is what the preservation board is requiring. If they are requiring to keep it or keep or to you can modify it certain way in the design history, people want to knock down properties, and that's not the proper way to go.
Right.
Then you have to be upfront to know and tell them these are the rules.
Right.
Because later you sell the property, you close, and the person go and the house disappear and say, what happened? So you have to tell people. So
The truth.
That's kind
And
of
knowing,
what you
and
say,
knowing,
the
right.
professionalism to know the city. The city is crucial.
Yeah.
It has been
And if you
for-
don't know the city, it's okay. You go and you find out. You know, you don't have to be an expert with the city. It's good to always go to the city and familiarize yourself with the services that they have and what you can and cannot do. But for the most part, if we were an expert in every single aspect of real estate, we wouldn't need to be agents.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, knowledge is always good. So what you're saying is great point. Thank you for that. Where was I? Okay, develop long-lasting relationships with sellers and buyers for repeat business, which is what I predominantly told you, is just that, you know, what are you going to do to stand out? How far are you willing to go for your client for you to get that repeat business, you know? Now, I'm not saying to do anything unethical or you know, against the law, because because I'm not saying that. You do everything within your ethical responsibility to that individual, whether it be the seller or the buyer. And if there's not, and if they ask you to do something that is not ethical, you don't do that. You know, you can lose your license in 2 seconds without you just trying to make them happy, and you don't even know any better. And I've seen it happen. And the agent loses their license, and it's just don't do that. If you know, yeah, it's definitely not worth it. It's never worth it.
Ooh, a little animation.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, teamwork makes the dream work. That's for sure. Okay, so I kind of just did this briefly here. So if you guys want to do this, okay, you guys, I need help with whatever transaction it is that you're working, whether it be a sale, a purchase, or a purchase or a lease. You would speak with your client, okay? You get the details. For me, it's important I know it's on or off market, so I know how to help you guys. And you contact me and we deliver results, you know? Very simple. And there's a lot more to it than that, you know? But this is pretty much short, simple, sweet, and straight to the point. If you guys ever need my help, you know I'm here, okay? Okay, and the split.
So this is if you do decide to work as part of the commercial team, the mentorship program in which Anna is the current #1 commercial mentor. So if you do decide to come on board and work on commercial, this would be a structured plan, and this is going to be the same for both residential and commercial. We're putting together a list of residential mentors as well if you decide to do that one instead, which will be primarily for new agents, or we'll have established agents like Anna on the commercial side, we'll have on the residential as well. An established agent who has a certain amount of business and a certain amount of advertising to have customers coming in to qualify and bring people under them. It would be a 3-deal agreement where there's certain obligations from the mentor, certain obligations from the mentee, where you really have a lot of hands-on assistance that you may or may not be getting currently. So if you do decide to enlist in this, there is an agreement that is signed by both parties, the mentor and the mentee, on what to expect and what's expected of you. And there's a 3-tiered structure. And it's outlined right here. Your first transaction, regardless of where the customer comes from, is on a 50-50 split. The second one's a 70-30, the third one's an 85-15. Following that third deal, you have the option to continue on a team with your mentor under an agreement you make with them, or separate, and you should have a good enough level of knowledge and source of business to continue on your own from there. And that can be anything from an office lease, a warehouse, a commercial building, multifamily, whatever it may be, and comes across. It's a 3-tiered structure, and it's pretty aggressive to try and get you off from that first deal where you need a help with every single phone call and text message onto being pretty much self-sufficient at the third transaction.
Right. And should you guys want us to continue my help after this, after the third deal, we can structure something out where it works for both of us. Okay? Everybody good with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Loving the animations.
That's why has to start from the first deal. If somebody has like somebody like me, that I have done certain deals, but there are other deals and I would like to.
The first deal would be 50-50, the second?
No. But if I have some experience and I just want to structure it.
If you're listing in the program, it's 3 deals in the program.
Yeah.
First, second,
so it has to start with the 1, 2,
yeah.
3.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Here are some commercial links that I wrote for you guys here. Okay, so CCIM is like the #1 commercial.
Have you heard of CCIM?
I'm gonna pull it up for you guys.
Okay.
I want to pull it up for you guys. Oh,
Ooh.
whoops.
You are so much like me in creating PowerPoint.
All right, let's go back. I'll give it to you guys after. Okay, so CCIM is like the #1 commercial, I would say, search engine where you can find other commercial agents. And this is like the highest commercial certification that you can get as a commercial agent. Okay, CCIM is expensive, very expensive, and it's very difficult, but it's very much worth it. When you are speaking with a high-end investor, okay, a lot of times they're gonna ask you if you have this accreditation because they want to know that they're dealing with someone that knows what they're doing, you know. And basically this breaks down commercial real estate for you in a way where it will come like second nature to you. You know, they give you templates, they show you how to underwrite a deal, which is what I spoke to you guys about earlier. They teach you how to break down pro formas, development, everything that you could possibly think of. And it's 4 courses that you have to take. Okay, you don't have to take all 4, but in order to get that accreditation, you have to take all 4. If you just want to get some fundamentals, then you just take the first and second class. Okay.
Anyone have a GRI in here? Yeah. Okay. So CCIM is the GRI for commercial.
What
Is it?
Yeah.
You don't pay for GRI after you've taken the classes. You pay for like CRS. You have to continue to pay for it.
I don't believe you do.
CCIM, you have to pay for a membership. It's about like $487 for the year as a member, and that being a member for the CCIM not only gives you access to other agents that are in that industry, however, it also gives you a discount on the classes. So in order to get a discount on the classes, you have to become a member. In order to understand or get invited to a lot of these events where you're dealing with investors, buyers, developers, whatever you want to call it, you have to be a member for the CCIM. 487.
That's not GRI.
No,
that's
that's CCIM.
That's the first link on top of here where you have.
GRI is Residential Primary Market. That stands for Graduate Realtor Institute. It's a 4-module program which you can go through 101, 201, 301, 401. 401 right there. 3. I got ahead of myself. The 4th chapter is with me. And it's a matter of qualification. So like getting your master's. It's like getting your master's in real estate.
Yeah. And this is difficult. I mean, I haven't taken the class. I've taken now in May, and I've already prepared myself for it. You know, I have already done some of the steps because I've been dealing with agents that are CCIM accredited, and they've been teaching me as I go, you know, same way I'm teaching you, and it's difficult, okay? So not saying it's not possible, just understand that it takes, like everything in life and everything that you do, it takes a lot of time and dedication and desire to want to do it. And I'm going to pull up for you guys what CCIM is when I'm done here.
Anybody know what RCA is? RCA? It's an audio company.
Television, yeah.
Oh, I'm like RCA. I'm like, what?
RCA is the Commercial Alliance, and every local board of realtors has one.
Oh.
So whether you're a Miami board, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, South Broward, wherever you may be, Orlando, whoever's listening, every local board has one. And it is essentially a networking group and affiliations through the Board of Realtors for agents that focus on commercial. So it isn't a part of an organization or a committee that you would want to be involved in if you're going to focus on commercial.
Right. So, and that's the second link here. And you'll see it says /RCA. The Miami Realtors, in order for you to be a dual agent, meaning commercial and residential, you have to upgrade yourself to that. If not, if you're saying you're a commercial agent and you don't have this, what is it called? If you're a residential agent and you're saying you do both, you need to make sure that with the Miami Association of Realtors, you have upgraded yourself to a dual agent. If you're going to only focus on commercial, you have to make sure that you upgrade yourself to commercial and remove residential. Because if you do not have that dual, you can get in trouble. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can be in violation of the code of ethics,
yes.
messing up on a commercial transaction because you're not considered competent in the area
right. that
you are servicing.
Right. So it's very simple. You have to write an email, and you can call the Board of Realtors and ask them to please give you that email where you need to advise whoever it is, a higher power there, I don't remember off the top of my head, that you want to be a dual agent. If you want to be a dual agent or commercial or just residential.
If you need help with that, just let me know.
Yeah, I wrote it down yesterday in my notes. So if you need me, I can put it in an email and send it to you or vice versa.
Essentially, we're just going to communicate with the head of member services for your respective board and ask them to change that. They put it in their system, which trickles up to Florida Realtors and then national.
Yeah, but it's a higher price.
It does increase.
It does increase your expenses with the Board of Realtors if you're going to be a dual agent. I believe it goes up a few $100s. Okay, and then there's another link there for realtors, and it's the commercial aspect also. And maybe you can shed some light on this. Yesterday when I spoke to the Board of Realtors, I wanted to make sure I was relaying the correct message. They said in order for you to become a realtor, to have that little R on there.
You have to be a member of the board. Okay,
you have to be a member of the board. But in here, if you hit this exact link, it'll take you to where you need to go so you can get information if you want to subscribe to yourself as a commercial agent in this one as well. And what's the difference between these two?
Which one?
Here, NAR and Miami Realtors.
Well, Miami is going to be your local resource with the RCA. That's the chapter here locally in Miami.
Right.
Whereas NAR is the national organization where it's a lot of news, updates, information that you can use to stay in front of your customers, like on a newsletter. Similar things you find on the residential side, but this one's all focused towards commercial properties.
Okay, great. I just
If you
wanted to
register with your local board, you're going to automatically.
You'll get on the feed from your local RCA chapter.
Yeah. And then, any questions on this?
It's like a fraternity.
Yeah.
It's actually a very good analogy.
And then
Let's
you guys have my contact information. Should you guys need anything, and you have my website, my email address, and my phone number. And my website is under construction. It should be ready in about 2 days. I was just fixing it. So if you guys go on there and you see anything, it's because it's under construction. And it should be ready in about 2 days. And is there any questions?
Open Q&A.
At this point in here, obviously, when you start, you need to sign up.